Hi guys, Big One Leader, and today we've got another replay coaching. This is one of the Reddit requests. This is by Terrorfin. He played the Ogre MAgi this game. That came in, wanted to do an Ogre MAgi for a while. He's a really good support to play for new players. One of the problems with support is quite often they're susceptible to heroes like Slot and Weaver just picking them off and blowing them up, and in order to stop that, while there's a lot of ways to stop that happening and a lot of ways to counterplay that, they're not as common and not as expected in low skill games and with new players. Whereas with Ogre MAgi, he's really tanky. He's got a huge amount of health. He's got reasonable move speed, not terrible, and he's got a shitload of armor. So he's got 660 health at the start with no extra stats, and he's got 8 armor. 8 armor is a huge amount. He's got 35% physical damage resistance. I mean, if I look at, say, the Huskar, he's only got 13%, and he's standing under. He's getting bonus armor from the tower. So these guys, the Ogre MAgi having such a huge amount of armor early on. Let's look at Pudge. 6% physical damage resistance, so compared to Ogre MAGI's 35%, that is a massive difference in the amount of damage he's going to take. One of the things that happens with this is, as Ogre MAGI, even if you completely get caught out and you get, you just die with that and you feel like you've had no impact, it takes so long for the enemy team to kill you that a lot of the time you can create an opportunity for your team just by being there and dying. I mean, obviously that's not what you that's not the impact you want to be having in a game, but I feel in really low skill games where you're going to get punished for mistakes a lot, he's quite a forgiving hero in that it takes a lot of time to kill him, and a lot of the time you can just walk out, whereas if you're like a Crystal Maiden or a Lina or a Jakiro on support, you just get caught by a Slark, you're just dead. You need items to counterplay that. Right, so let's start by talking about your warding here. I like that you're warding, and generally throughout most of your game, I do like your warding for the most part. But this one here I think is a bit of a mistake. Let me just slow time so we can see the range. See this ward? If it was just a tiny bit to the right, or if it was up here, it would pretty much show exactly what you're seeing in lane now. In fact, if it was more to the right, you'd also see more of this. So if it was a little bit to the right here, it would also give you rune vision, and rune vision is really important for your mid laner. Okay, so it's a Huskar. Huskar doesn't really care about the runes so much, but still, knowing where it is and knowing if it's a rune that you really want to make sure the enemy team don't get, they can be really useful. And if you see an invis rune, it can create you an opportunity. If you see a haste rune, it can create you an opportunity somewhere. So having that rune vision is really important. And it's like you warded almost on that spot, dude. So if you place it just sort of even right here, it would have given you almost as much lane vision, but it would have given you rune vision. And it's just a tiny bit to the right, and it would have been perfect. So I really like your rune here. It's going to give you vision if anybody rotates on here. It's going to let you know whenever the offlaner leaves the lane, which is super important, because you don't want to be standing there trying to set something up on him if he's just walked out to jungle. So let's go back to your player perspective.
Twins. Mine.
Amazed that the Clinks let you have that. I'm really glad he did as well. I think early on as well, I'd like to have seen item-wise if you queued up a Orb of Venom. Now, boots first would have been better if you were against a dual lane, maybe, in most cases. But if you're against a solo laner like this and there's 2 of you, you're getting an Orb of Venom to make sure both of you can repeatedly hit the off laner can be really strong, especially with this guy. You have 285 move speed, the Spirit Breaker has 290. With an Orb of Venom, you then have a move speed advantage. Plus the slow from Ignite lets you close the gap reliably. Yeah, that guy can't trade with you. Don't be afraid. The only thing you have to be afraid of in this lane is creeps.
Have I got juice on
Creeps will hurt, Spirit Breaker will not. Because despite the fact that he is reasonably tanky, He's still only got 28% physical damage resistance. He does hit slightly harder, but so like the pull here. I also like that you tried to connect it. I think you failed to connect, but at least you tried. It's more the Spirit Breaker interrupted it. When you are pulling this camp, if you wait just 1 second longer and then pull it to the left up here rather than the right. Let me just free cam that while you are chasing. If you pull it to the left up here instead, what happens is your creeps will end up fighting the enemy creeps here rather than here, and it makes it a little bit easier to pull, because when your creeps run back out, they'll run back out this way. Whereas if you pull them here, if you pull them that way, they'll run out back to where they came from effectively. So I mean, he interrupted your pull. You were a little bit early on this one anyway, but he interrupted it. You kind of got screwed. For the timings for camps, it's really useful. Just go into a bot game. It should be here that you leave the camp. See, you can kind of see even before he gets in. You're going to get there way too early. What I think partly may have messed up your timings is one of your creeps died or left a little bit, so you didn't have the full creep wave hitting this. But going to a bottom match, if you can't do this consistently, different spawns here will affect how soon you have to pull the camp. Different camps here will affect how soon you can pull. If you get the range creeps here, if you get the trolls, one of the things you can do is, if your creeps are walking away, your creeps can get all the way here, and if you let them right click you once, while the attack is in flight, you come and stand up in this gap in the trees, it will,
this should make
as long as you're close enough to your creeps, when you get hit by that attack, they will aggro to the jungle creeps. So that's one way you can sort of abuse getting the timing slightly out if you've got the ranged creeps. But otherwise,
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So yeah, go into bot game, practice it a couple of times. Now, I like that you clean up that camp as well. Clean up the camp is probably super useful. You need to be able to pull to control this lane. Spirit Breaker is someone that you can really pressure though. You've got enough gold for an Orb of Venom right now. What would be useful, I think, and what would be justifiable, is if you just go buy an Orb of Venom and just keep hitting this guy. It's a little bit dangerous because of the Ancient Apparition here, so you're probably gonna have to be really careful about when he does that. You have to leave. But one of the problems with the AA is that he's got to force you to stick around, and he can't really do that really effectively. So for the most part, at least if Spirit Breaker's alone, you need to just be hitting him. Get an Orb of Venom and just be hitting him. I feel like you're not really sure what you want to be doing here, but this Clinkz, he's super survivable. Clinkz is not a problem. He's one of those heroes that you can leave. I think that might have been your option here, to be honest, once the AA shows up. It's going to be a difficult trade if the AA shows up, so if he shows up, just get a smoke delivered. Go gank mid, maybe, even if you can't kill the Phantom Assassin, if you just drop your nukes on it and then back out. One, you create an opportunity, maybe you can kill her with the Huskar, and secondly, it's going to force the AA to leave, whereas at the moment you're both just sort of passively sitting sapping XP. I think you realise you stepped out there, so we'll just gloss over that one.
Double damage!
It's good reaction though. Most players at your level would have taken like 3 or 4 more steps by the time they'd realised, and then they'd have taken a lot more damage. A lot more. Now, if you are walking back to base and you've got boots ready to be delivered and the courier is not busy, get it delivered. Because you will then walk back to base faster. It just reduces the amount of downtime you spend. So I really like, one of the things you did really well this game is you constantly, when you're walking back to base, when you're in base, when you're between, let's say, points of interest, when you're between things happening, you look at the things that are happening and look for opportunities to join fights. Just like, so you get to base now. I mean, you could have been looking already, but Even at a higher skill level, a lot of players don't bother. So you're watching for this opportunity here. I'll let this play out and then we'll talk about it.
Killing spree.
So you TP'd in then. It took you some time to actually react and stun the Phantom Assassin. Now, the Huskar was going to die anyway, but it did make me think that maybe you have TP requires stop disabled. So let's just talk about that briefly. Now, the default option for teleport requires stop. It's on the options tab here. Teleport requires hold or stop. Now, the default option for Dota is that if you're teleporting and you try to move or you cast any spell, it will cancel the teleport and it will cast that spell. And what will happen if you're TPing and you cast a spell at somebody where you're TPing to is it will stop the teleport and your hero will try and walk to that person, which is just ridiculous. So if you activate this, what will happen instead is you will get your command will automatically get shift queued as the next action as soon as the teleport completes. So if I go back to the fight, I'll show you what I mean. Because if we watch in slow-mo from your perspective here, now, if that was me TPing, I would now, so your mouse is up here, you're panning the camera, that's okay. What I would immediately be doing is casting Fire Blast on her now, because then I know there will be no time wasted. As soon as the teleport completes, it casts. Because if she gets one more right click off on this guy, he's dead. If she gets a chance to dagger, he's dead. So you want to be casting that Fire Blast to make sure there is no delay time.
This'll come in handy.
And your TP is complete now. Now she's already thrown the dagger. He's dead. He's already dead. There's no way you can save him. Unfortunately, in this case, the TP just didn't finish early enough. I just thought this moment made me realize you probably have TP. You don't have that option turned on, and you probably should. It's really useful. There will be a lot of instances where if you TP into the middle of a fight, you can save time on reinitiating by queuing up your next ability. The other thing you can do, of course, is shift queue things, but so that guy dies anyway. But it takes you a couple of seconds here to turn and stun her. I mean, this is exactly what you should have done. You played this really well. It's just that I think it gave me the impression you were waiting for the teleport to stop before you can cast an ability, and by having that option turned on, it's really, really useful.
I don't believe this.
Squish! You're dead!
So we'll go through the rest of the laning phase, I think, at slightly accelerated speed.
Haste!
Finally got your Orb of Venom. Orb of Venom's really great if you get it super early and use it for harassing people out of lane. Because once you've got an Orb of Venom, you've got a move speed advantage. They just can't stay in lane. Most heroes just can't stay in lane anymore. But if you get it late, it's when people are when you expect people to be responding. It's not as good. That's why Orb of Venom early is quite good. I mean, Boots still gives you a move speed advantage, but the Orb of Venom gives you and the Clinks a move speed advantage, if that makes sense. So I like that you're looking around the map while you are walking somewhere. You're looking for opportunities. This is something that a lot of lower skill players don't do, and that's really good. Your awareness is way above your level.
Excellent.
It's definitely one of your stronger points. This fight, I really liked this fight. This was a really tough fight. This was like 3v2 for a long time, and you were both under a lot of pressure. Was expecting somebody to make a big mistake here, and nobody did. I think there was one moment where you maybe could have turned this, but it was such a very small moment of opportunity, and it was a very risky play anyway. I probably would have gone for it, but I'm not really sure whether to say it's the right decision, but we'll talk about it anyway. I'm sure there's a lot of players way higher than me that will say the play I'm about to suggest is wrong, but because of how risky it is. I mean, in Dota you don't want to be taking big risks if you can avoid it.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
But I think it would have worked. Sometimes the big plays are good. Although, from a teaching aspect, it's more important that you know that it is an option. Okay, so that is the moment. I'm going to slow this down.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So we'll slow it down here. Now, the Bloodseeker, I think, is going to basically just... He's trying to zone with his silence. I think the Spirit Breaker wants to cancel the Clinks' salve there, where basically it's... He's nearly full health now. And it's this point here where the Spirit Breaker starts taking right clicks because he's attacked the Clinks. That was your opportunity. If we go over that one more time. So what I think you should have done is saved your stun, just held it until after the silence. Instead of running to the right, I think you should have run down. You should have run down, eat this tree. That will dodge you the silence. It'll also give you health as the fight goes on. So right now you would be standing here. Then you stun. And this guy then has to tank. Has to stay there while he's on... He's currently on 500 HP. So then he has to tank 3 or 4 more hits. At that point, I think between you and the Clinks, the Spirit Breaker dies almost immediately after the stun ends. And then it gives you and the Clinks chance to turn on the Bloodseeker. It was a difficult decision, and I think a lot of players would still advise you take the safe option and just run out. But I think because of the fact that the Spirit Breaker is a higher value target than an Ogre, I think it would have been okay even if you had died to kill the Spirit Breaker. But let's say just an option. I think that's certainly going to be debated, that one, but I think if you'd have played it just right, you could have turned it. So
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Killing spree with this power.
Mine!
Selfish.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
That was a perfect example of what I was this is a perfect example of what I was on about earlier. About how she's gone on you now. If you were a Crystal Maiden, you'd be dead. If you were a Jakiro, you'd be dead already. I really like how you ran around the tower here, trying to buy time. If you'd have just ran straight, well, you kind of hesitated and came back in. But after you were hesitated, if you just ran straight, I think she'd have caught you. But by keeping her under the tower, keeping that extra armor, you just survived. Again, I mean, look at this. You're every time you're in Fountain, you're looking, you're planning, you're working out what you're going to do next, and that's good. At this level, people just sort of fumble around and wander into each other. I didn't know better. I think you were a higher MMR player.
This should make my life easier.
So this guy's now fucked.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
That was unfortunate.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Nice stun under the tower. I see this is another thing where Crystal Maiden would already be dead, Jakiro would already be dead. And let me free cam this because I think it's... See, you just walked out of that. If I free cam this, they chased you for so long. Even though Pudge took forever to show up, you've now set up a kill for your team. Whereas if you'd have been CM, you'd have died like right back here and then it just walked out. So another thing you just did, which a lot of low skill players do this, and it's really, really not a good idea, is you've already left. You're up here. If you went to Fountain now, that'd be perfect. But what you're doing is you're coming back in on 215 HP.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
This is usually not a good idea. Now I kind of could have excused it if you used a stun on someone and that person died. But now you have no mana, you have no health. What are you going to contribute here? And what a lot of players do this is they'll stick around too long when they need to go heal. Ask yourself, can I contribute now? And the answer in this case is no, you can't. All you can do is be a distraction and die. If you were to run back to Fountain now, I mean, you should have already done it when you were nearby. You should have healed at a Fountain and then TP'd back in. But if you were to run back now, if these guys re-engage, you'll be ready. But if you go in now, which is what you were sticking around to do, if all you are is food for them. This guy's food too, because if he doesn't get a time walk off fast enough, he just dies. But you definitely should have just backed. Even as soon as you bloodlust the pudge, you should have backed. Probably even before that, you should have just healed and been ready for the next fight. If another fight had have broken out, you'd have been completely screwed. Let's go back to player perspective. And now you're doing exactly what you should have done: is just go back, heal, be ready for the next fight.
Illusion.
Almost got your mana boots too, which will be really useful. One thing I would advise you do in the early game, in the first 10 minutes, don't necessarily commit to fast buying out the energy booster for your boots of speed. Get maybe a clarity or two. Get a raindrop.
Let's get
Because they will give you the mana to sustain yourself until you can afford mana boosts. I mean, if you get a couple of early kills, you can buy the mana boosts fast. Great, yeah, buy the mana boosts first. But you are a spellcaster. If you don't have at least 2/3 mana, you are not going to be at full capacity in a fight. So, even when you've got this, I would still say a raindrop is still going to be really, really useful for you. I mean, they don't have a lot of nukes this game, so you're going to get massive mana regen out of it. Massive mana regen. Raindrop would be super useful. Even after your mana boots, it'd be really good. Because if you had mana boots and raindrop, you could continually spam ignite. Just pretty much continuously. I think another thing that I saw you doing quite a lot in this game is you have mana boots. You're missing mana. Your mana boots are ready.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
Don't wait
attack.
till you're out of mana and you need a little bit of mana. Use them now, because by the time the fight actually starts down here, and you could have used it again. I mean, probably another 30 seconds and you could have used it again. You could have been full mana. So you need to spam them more, and you really need to spam, especially now this guy's missing some mana. You've got 2 heroes here missing some mana, and you have mana boots ready. Use it. Don't wait till you're low and you can't cast spells. Use your arcane boots as soon as they're up.
Tower is under attack.
So what I think we'll do is we'll watch the next fight, because it shows target acquisition issues reasonably well.
Radiant's bottom tower
I don't think
is
it's your
under
biggest
attack.
problem.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
But for the most part, I think your
Oi, fresh mate.
from the footage I've seen, most of your issues are a large combination of small issues where players at this level will often find. Actually, let's watch this fight and then we'll talk about it after.
Selfish. I share my fate.
I've seen this in my dreams.
Okay, let's review that in slow-mo now, and we'll zoom out a bit and see what happened. Now, just for the sake of making sure everybody's clear about what was happening, you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your right, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your right, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your right, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your right, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient Apparition to your left, and you went on the Ancient your team was fighting to the right, and that was
Radiant's
in your field
bottom
of view.
tower has fallen.
Maybe a little bit too slow. I think I've gone back a bit too far.
Oi! Fresh meat!
I mean, AA is hasted as well, which is going to make this super hard. It's alright. You hear the charge go off. I mean, this guy throws a spell at you. What you should be doing immediately is trying to save this guy. If you'd have turned around and dropped all your nukes on the Spirit Breaker, we should have easily been able to blow this guy up. Make sure he died. Instead, what you end up with is these guys just don't have enough damage to kill him. You don't have enough damage to kill the Ancient Apparition. If you'd have dropped your stun, and your nuke on this guy, he'd be dead. And let's see just how much. I mean, he's charged away. Let's see how much health he ends on. So 186 health. Your ignite
I
does
share my pain.
42 damage
I've seen this in my dreams.
for 7 seconds. So yeah, he'd have been super dead. That was like 400 damage. 5-2. Yeah, it's about 300. That's about 300 damage, depending on where his reduction goes. But I think he's got 25.
Regeneration.
Spirit Breaker's got 25%. Yeah, it's about 300. He'd have been dead. So if you'd have picked your targets better in this fight, the Spirit Breaker would be dead. What you should have done, as soon as you get an ally gone on like this, especially one that's low, you need to focus on killing one guy and focus on protecting your allies. By fighting this guy over here, you're not really being particularly useful. I mean, if you literally just threw one ignite as he goes past now, it'd be all fine. Sometimes it's worth disabling a hero like this to stop him joining the fight, but then you turn around and focus on dealing good damage in the fight. So maybe in some cases you could have stunned that guy and then turned and ignite the other. I mean, that would have been perfect, but usually you need to focus on where your team is in a fight. I think that's pretty much it. I think we'll skip ahead. We'll have a brief glance over item builds. So if we go on the scoreboard, your endgame item build: Ghost Scepter, Full Staff. I mean, Full Staff's pretty standard. If Phantom Assassin blinks on you, you can get away. If Monkey King gets on top of you, you can get away. If you get charged by Spirit Breaker, you can get away. So Full Staff was an absolutely fantastic item this game. The Urn, not completely sold on, but it's okay. Urn is always a good item if you are fighting a lot. You needed to have a range drop in this game. One of the things that really holds Ogres back is mana. He's a spellcaster. The more mana you have, the more time you can spend fighting or farming. I think that's something you didn't do much this game. Once you've got Ignite maxed, and you've got a steady supply of mana, which means mana boots and something that gives good mana regen, like a raindrop or an urn, or both. Once you've got that steady supply of mana, and you've got level 4 Ignite, level 4 Ignite clears medium camps and small camps insanely fast. So if you go into a game, just go spam Ignite on the medium camps and the small camps. You can take them super fast. If your team is waiting for a fight to start, let's say you're pushing the bot tower, you can go farm the medium camp that's near the bot tower. Just wait till people start to show up and then join the fight. Or if your team are wandering around, they don't really know what to do, and rather than just following them and just babysitting them, go farm a camp that's nearby. I mean, that would have got you much richer. The Ghost Scepter, I like the Ghost Scepter again. It counters Phantom Assassin. Back when I was early in Dota, I had this eureka moment where I bought a Ghost Scepter under advice one day as a Crystal Maiden, and Phantom Assassin was shitting on me. I bought a Ghost Scepter. She blinked in on me. I Ghost Sceptered. I just casually walked out, and my team then murdered her horribly, and she just stood there not knowing how to deal with it. This is back when I was like, I don't know, 2.5k or something. And that eureka moment of all of a sudden I'm not feeding, she's feeding because I bought this item. it's fantastic. It's a really good feeling. This guy needs to right-click you as well. This guy needs to right-click you. This guy needs to right-click you. It's such a good item, this game. It was a fantastic pickup. This is where you do a lot of things where I suspect you kind of... there's a lot of things you do in this game where you're way above your MMR. Your itemization certainly was, unless you just sort of picked this at random and got super lucky. Your warding is pretty good. I mean, you could have bought more wards in the length of the game. We say that every game. You're solo support. You got to get items at some time, right? So yeah, your items were good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe. You know what? I think your items were perfect. Screw it. Your items were perfect. There's not a lot I would have gone instead. I'd have maybe offered to get the Vlads for the Faceless Void. One of the things with cores. A lot of cores get the Vlads because it's a cheap and it's the only way a lot of them can get lifesteal. And it's a really old build back when the game everything was unique attack modifiers, and the only way for most cores to get lifesteal was to get a Vlads. The thing is, Vlads will give you all its effects, apart from the +2 attributes. It will give you all its effects on anyone on your team. So what you could have done is you could have picked up the Vlads instead. The Ring of Basilius is a good item to get early to give you some extra mana regen. So you pick up the Vlads instead, and then this guy can fill that slot with a damage item. And then he's carrying harder. He's hitting 15% harder from the Vlad's aura. He doesn't need to carry it himself. You can carry it. And as an ogre, the extra armor means you take even longer to kill. So it's generally an item you get not because it's good on you, but because it's good for the team. And that's 2,200 gold that the Faceless Void could have put into finishing the Manta, maybe, or he could have put into another damage item. He could have put into a Crystallis. So in some games, maybe consider getting a Vlads. I think your item choices though were good. It's just your build up was a bit slow. You probably should have got the Orb of Venom first, and then built into boots after. And I think you need to spend some time in between farming. Just go, say, once you max ignite, get mana boots, get a regen item like Urn or Basilius, get a raindrop, and then just go spam camps. I mean, if you look at Ogre Magi's skill set quickly, where is he? Ignite has a 15-second cooldown, so it's not massive. So if you just go sort of wander in between fights and take the medium and the small camp, you can take the hard camp with it too, but it commits more time and more. You'll trade more. You'll probably end up trading some HP, or you'll have to use 2 ignites. But you can do it. I mean, if the game is being super passive, feel free, go do it. But both the medium camp and the easy camp you can take with virtually no time commitment at all, because Ignite does almost all the work. So go try that. Hope this has been useful for you. I'm going to open a discussion on Reddit, so come and join the discussion. I'll put the link in the description. And otherwise, just enjoy your games, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for submitting. See you soon. Bye bye.